when we step into true adulthood, we want to surround ourselves with people who won't just enable our childish ways, but who will call forth our greatness, who will call us into integrity with our center, with our authentic nature.
Bryan with a Y. Reeves. I got that in my head. That's been in my head for weeks now.
Good. Good. That's
That was
why I say it over and over.
so funny.
Great.
Yeah, it's working. It's working. So yeah, man. Thanks for being open to this conversation. I mean, you're one of my favorite podcasts. I think I avoided it initially. I think the title, there was some emotion there. Maybe we could start there. I was like, this guy.
Tell me more.
It felt
Tell me more.
it felt arrogant if I was gonna sum it up, and I don't want to say the word. And it felt that way initially, and it's so ironic because it's one of my favorite podcasts right now.
No, men this way.
Yeah, it felt like
my podcast, Men This Way. The title felt arrogant. Ooh, tell me more. Tell me more. I want to hear. Like, really, really, that's fascinating to me. Tell me more.
It is, man. It's alluring as well because it's like, who is this guy? Let's find out more about him in a way.
Yeah.
So it's it felt provoking. Let's say it felt provocative. It felt like you're telling. It's like an order, isn't it? It's like maybe it's that military background coming in.
Oh. Can I share with you a little bit of where that title came from?
For sure, I'd love to know.
Because this is so fascinating. It's so fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's so interesting. I've never heard anyone say that, but I can see it. I totally can see it. It feels arrogant, like, men, we're gonna go this way. Let's go this way. Follow me, kind of thing, right? And actually, the opposite is true, Chris. That title came through. So me and my childhood best friend Tate. Probably, I think it was around 2017. So, coming up on 6 years ago, our relationship, we've been the closest of friends for now going on 39 years. Like, we met when we were 10 years old, and we've just been buddies ever since. But we drifted, like a lot of men, when we get into adulthood, we don't really keep in touch with our friends anymore. So Tate and I, we were waking up to how fucking lonely we were as men. He was married with kids. I had I was with who's now my wife, Sylvie. We had our relationship was unfolding and growing, and I was doing work that I love, coaching work, relationship coaching work, but we were so lonely in our lives as men. We lived on opposite sides of the country, and we felt lost. Quite frankly, we felt lost, like men this way. Well, we didn't know where the fuck we were going in large part, Chris. So anyway, we decided to meet in a cabin, a mountain cabin, to spend a weekend together, a 3-day, just me and him hanging out, just reconnecting with each other, man, and catching up, and we did some mushroom medicine up there, and really open our hearts and just open our minds, and it was such an incredible 3 days that we spent. It was such a beautiful weekend. And one of the things that came through was both of us sharing how, our lives look like they're well put together, and they were, but we were lost, man. Where are our fathers? Where are our elders? We had no elder men showing us the way. We had no, one of the big challenges for me, Chris, in stepping into leading men's work was, where the hell am I taking men when I don't fucking know where I'm going? You know what I mean? How am I going to to presume to know where men should go when I don't even know where I should go? I got no elder men telling me, helping me figure that out. They're just as lost or more lost than I am. So, that title, Tate and I, through our journey that weekend, our time together, one of the things that Tate shared with me is that I was very orienting for him as a man, just the way that I live my life. Not that he and I have very different lives, but there was something in our friendship. We in a way, we helped orient each other. We helped kind of keep each other, like, the way we tell the story is he was a bully at 10 years old. I hated him when I first met him. I was a weak, tiny little kid, and he was a big, angry bully. But through our friendship, he he made me stronger in ways that I needed to be stronger, and I made him softer in ways that he needed to soften. Right. So in a way, we gifted each other something really beautiful in our development as boys and then men. And but again, we had no idea, like we had no elders, Chris. So, that title came through this men this way, men, comma, this way. Which way? Well, I don't know. Let's all find out together is really where that comes from. It's not like, hey, men, we're going to, machismo. We're going to go to lift weights and we're going to go to get big buff bodies and we're going to go to men this way to fucking more women or like none of that, man. It's just, men, let's go together and see where we go kind of thing.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Right. So I wonder, what does that bring up for you?
Yeah.
Chris?
Well,
now that you hear more of the story behind it.
I know exactly. Well, what's coming up is the truth of how I feel about that statement. And what's coming up is the amount of time I spend saying and reinforcing this is a way. It doesn't mean that I know the way. It doesn't mean that I'm saying like this is the only way. It's a way. Right. It's a way to live life. It's a way to reconnect to yourself. It's a way to find purpose. And I reinforce that quite a lot. And it comes from definitely a wound of there was someone early on who had this, who probably betrayed me, perhaps in a way that I trusted them, or there was like, okay, you're confident people often. Well, when I was younger, if you're confident, you're hiding something. It's like an over swing of the that's what happens when we're kids. It's like, okay, interesting. But I think that's definitely what it comes roots back to, because it's all a reflection. You're just mirroring. It's just a bunch of words put together. Like, what's it mirroring to me, right?
Totally. Yeah, man. I'm so intrigued, and thank you for sharing that. I think one of the things that I really it really matters to me is not that I don't want to be the kind of man who or the kind of coach, the kind of leader who imposes his agenda on others. Like, I know I have certainty about where we're supposed to go. Everyone follow me. Now, that said, yes, I was in the military, and I think life lived well is a paradox. Right. It's like it's the capacity to have some certainty. Like, I know where I want to go. I do believe I know where it would serve for us to go. And I'm so willing to be wrong. I'm willing to be influenced by the other people on this journey with me. I'm willing to be influenced by the feedback I get from life that, nope, actually, this isn't the way we're supposed to go. Oh, okay. One of my mentors, Bob Duggan, taught me this beautiful language. Don't push the river. Don't push the river. Don't try to make the river go where the river doesn't want to go. And, those words resound in my brain so much. And it's like life for me becomes just an ongoing exploration, inquiry, I love experimenting, trying on new things and seeing what feels good to me and discarding what doesn't. And that's really what Men This Way is all about. It's like, men, this way, which way? Well, fucking every way. Wherever way we want to go, let's figure it out. Let's all go together and have a good time, and we'll do conflict at times, but never disrespectfully. Let's learn how to disagree respectfully. Let's learn how to walk through time together in embracing our differences and supporting each other's paths, even if they diverge from our own. I mean, that's really what Men This Way is really about. It's about celebrating, all that men choose and get to figure out who they want to be and how they want to be. I mean, in ways that honor the whole, that honor everybody, that honor life.
And creating a space where that is all welcome. You mentioned something on a podcast about, you opened the conversation to the men in your group about the pandemic and COVID and what's the mess that is, and like how that none of you could really agree or persuade each other, and it was it was just
Yeah.
seeing each other in that space and just holding it. And I think that's like we lack that for sure.
Tell you, man, that's been one of the greatest gifts of being in a men's group, in a container of men where you're committed to each other, really committed to each other, to like come what may, and committed to being honest with each other, committed to being respectful with each other. When we get honest with each other, we're gonna disagree about some pretty difficult things. And for me, that the mark of the measure of a healthy functional group isn't that we all think alike. It's that when we think differently, we can still stay in partnership with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
That's
huge.
that's special.
Yeah, yeah. I often find the people that I notice that can't disagree at all, and
Yeah.
without getting emotional, it
Yeah.
they're to me the dangerous people.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I can accept people in all their ways, but that one thing, if you can't see that someone's going about something in a different way to what you would, and just be okay with that,
Yeah.
you know.
And it's tricky, man. Like in the pandemic, there were very real world considerations that
Mm.
we had to navigate, like mask mandates and business and school shutdowns. I mean, these are real things that we as a society have to grapple with. How do we navigate when people are genuinely on completely opposite sides of an issue? One person says you got to shut all the businesses down, and another person says you can't shut any of them down. Or everyone has to wear masks, or no one has to wear masks. I think those are false choices ultimately, and I think the gift of diversity is in finding the middle way. I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
the Buddhism, one of the core tenets of Buddhism. I'm not a Buddhist, but the movie Karate Kid. Did you ever see the movie Karate Kid?
Yeah.
It's a Mr. Miyagi. Like he's a wise male elder. I think one of the reasons we loved that movie is because so few of us had wise male elders. And here's this gentle, humble, badass of an older man who could fucking handle business, but never did that unprovoked. Knew when to step in and when to let things go. Well, one of his basic messages for Daniel's son was balance. Life is everything's in the balance. Everything's in balance. And I think in again, one of the important things that we men must learn, and we can learn, I think, really with each other fantastically, when we're committed to being honest with each other, ourselves and each other, and being respectful. Like those two together, being honest and being respectful, holy moly. Like we can find our way through anything when we can learn to just, oh man, sit in the fire of the choices, the hard choices we have to make, where everyone gets to have a say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's what we're crying out for. That's
Crying out for it, man. We're dying for it.
So how do you create that? How do you nourish the environment to hold that
Mm.
space? And maybe you could give an example of a time where it felt like the energy was shifting, and a lot was being, maybe a time where people were saying a lot of you statements, and there was blame and
Yeah. Yeah.
victimhood and all the rest of it.
That's a great question. And that's a really great question. And look, the more people you add to a mix, the more complicated it gets. Like United States is a country of 300-ish million people. That's an incredibly complex system to manage,
Mm-hmm.
right? But when you're talking about a group of 15 guys, that's far less complicated than 300 million all kinds of people, right? And in my men's group, we're the group of men that I've been with for the last four-ish years. We went through a lot of the um the like the protests against the police murders, a couple summers ago. 2020, we went through 2020 together, the George Floyd protests, that pitted a lot of like the police against minority communities. I mean, anyway, we went through all that together. And in my group, we have black men, we got white men, we have Asian men, we have half black, half white men, we have former police officers in my group, we have former military veterans like myself and another, and we have men that we have one guy that grew up in Detroit, son of a notorious drug dealer, himself a drug dealer, like who's been shot. Like we have a really interesting diversity of men who can see these issues from all different perspectives. And yeah, at times it can get heated. It can get we can guys can coming from our bias can get confused and get a little adversarial. But it only takes one guy, it only takes one person to say, you know what, let me listen, let me just hear what's really true for you. Let me understand. Let me get curious. Curiosity. I mean, I had this with a guy named Stefanos, who's in my group, and he's actually one of the most recent guests on my podcast.
Yeah,
Stefanos.
phenomenal podcast. That was incredible. So good.
Oh, you heard it? Great,
so
great,
many
great.
gems. Yeah. Wait, he mentioned one thing. Turning what's our biggest void becomes our biggest value, and that was like, wow, that unlocked a lot for me.
Great. Yeah, I love Stefanos, and I share in that episode about I can't say conflict. I just didn't know him when he came into our group, and I tend to be suspicious of men at first, because I was like, who are you? Talk about childhood wounds. One of my childhood wounds is feeling like men aren't there for me. Men are just off doing their own thing. They're in their own checked out world, and they're either a danger or they're just gone. They're impotent, or they're either a tyrant or they're a weakling impotent. And in either case, you're no good for me. You're not here for me. Right? That's my wounded child that can show up in a moment and be like, all right, like, fella, you in or you out? Who are you? You gonna bail when things get difficult? You gonna turn into a big child when I don't do what you want me to do? If so, fuck you. That's my inner child, my little adolescent rebellious teenager. And I had a little bit of that with Stefanos when he first came in. And he didn't bite. And look, I didn't come at him full force. I shared, look, there's a story that's up for me. There's something that's a little bit in the way. I owned my story. I owned that this is not the truth. And this is this is who you are or who you're not. Just like, look, there's something in the way for me, a story I have, it's here. And Stefanos didn't get defensive about it. He didn't kind of come back at me with his own story. He was just like, oh, interesting. I'm curious. He led with a stance of curiosity.
Yeah. I'm curious. Did you think he was gonna leave, like, and just get what he wanted and leave, kind of thing?
For me, it's more like, again, let's talk childhood wounds again. My parents divorced when I was 4 years old, right? My family split up at 4, and it was not pretty. It was ugly. It was contentious. And my mom and my dad would never again have a really civil conversation for the rest of my life. Even I think in my late teens, early 20s, I even asked my mom, like, would you just like, can you just be nice to my dad? Like, we're gonna, like, I think we're going to like my sister's wedding or something. I was like, Mom, can't y'all just get along, kind of thing? And my mom said something that made me drop it. And I won't repeat those words, but she said something that let me know there's no fucking chance in hell I'm ever going to have a nice conversation with your father. It's like, okay, cool. Got it. So like my family has been, from 4 years old, I experienced that cleaving of a family, and a very painful one. And there's a part of me that has been seeking to sort of reconnect family ever since. I think all the work that I do, even the work as a relationship coach, I'm seeking
Yeah.
to help people connect. Even when people want to divorce or their relationship is over, I even said it earlier in this conversation. Let's do that in a spirit of partnership. So like partnership is one of my core values. I don't care what's going on. Can we stay in partnership? And that again is, I think that's my own childhood tragedy manifesting as the work that I do, right?
What
And so it's not that I thought Stephanos would come in, get what he wanted, and then leave. It was more that, I guess, particularly with men, that wounded part of me needs to know that whatever happens, you're gonna stay by me.
Hmm.
You're not gonna abandon me when I'm just being me.
Do you think
You know,
subconsciously you're testing him?
definitely, 100%. Not even subconsciously. It's a little conscious. There's a lot of subconscious stuff going on, but also consciously, there's a little bit of,
Yeah.
a little bit of challenge. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's, you look at movies like Avatar, movies like I remember this in Dances with
Yeah,
Wolves,
dance.
the
Yeah,
old
yeah,
Kevin Costner film.
yeah.
When two men from opposite from what seem like opposing tribes, like in Dances with Wolves, Kevin Costner. Let's go with Avatar. That's a more recent example. When the main character shows up in the indigenous tribe for the first time, the top male warrior looks at him like, "Who the fuck are you? You're not real. You don't belong here. You haven't trained in the ways that we've trained. You don't understand the world the way that we see it, right? We don't belong together." And over time, though, as the person who was coming into the group respectfully shows that he's worthy of being here, like, no, I am in a sense, I am as worthy as you are, because I do see what you see. I do. Not that we think the same, but I'm reliable, I'm dependable, I'm going to keep showing up. You're going to keep pushing me back, but guess what? You can't knock me over, right? I'm not going to try to kill you, but I'm not going to let you kill me either. Like, that builds respect between men. I mean, when we realize, okay, here's a worthy adversary,
Mm-hmm.
we I used to hate, I don't know, we can go down so many rabbit holes here, Chris. But I enjoy watching UFC fights these days, and MMA, and one of the things that I love the most is the respect
Mm-hmm.
that two men who just spent 25 minutes beating the shit out of each other, the respect and love that they almost inevitably show each other when the fight is over.
Mm.
Like, even if one knocked the shit out of the other, just for stepping in the ring and not bailing, there's a respect that gets created. And I think that we men, it's like, it's something we need. It's like,
Yeah. What's the evolutionary advantage of that, do you think? Of, like, I guess it's someone that could be on the battlefield with us almost.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we're gonna go to war, if our village is gonna be attacked, I need to know that you're not gonna turn tail and run.
Yeah.
That you're gonna stand beside me. That you're gonna help protect the world that we care about and love. Because if you're not, then if I can't rely on you, then we're in danger. On a very, very primal level, we are in danger. If I can just push you over, that means anyone else can just push you over. I can't rely on you to protect our village and my life as well. Right. So I think that's a probably very simplistic way of visioning it. But I mean that's the history of humanity. Is the world is a violent place, and we band together. The people who succeeded were the ones who created groups that could defend themselves from outside forces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the counter to this, that if you go through your life as a man not challenging anyone, not testing anyone, like, in a healthy way, but just seeing what, sharpening your tool and theirs at the same time, by what's the counter to that would be never fully knowing anyone, and
Right.
being quite isolated.
Definitely. And not being able to really trust anyone. Who do I really know if I can trust?
Mm.
And I think we men do challenge each other, but often in really meaningless ways, right? We challenge each other to make more money. We challenge each other to score more women. We challenge each other on the athletic field. Now, I think that's often positive, although it can be done in really awful ways, right? But we men are constantly challenging each other, even just the way we talk to a lot of guys. Women often trip out about this, and I don't do this with my friends anymore. But I when I was in college or a younger man, and a lot of men still do this, is like, you see your buddy on Friday, like, yo, what's up, small dick? What's up, small dick?
Yeah.
Still sleeping alone at night because you can't. We put each other down. That's a way of challenging each other, and then the other guy comes back, I don't know, says something equally degrading. But that's like how we men love on each other in a very sick and unhealthy way. I mean, again, I don't do this with my friends anymore. My friends don't do this with me, because we challenge each other in different ways. We challenge each other in the ways of, like, man, look, you said something about wanting to be healthier, and I notice that you're not going to the gym. What's that about? Right? Or you said something about you really being committed to your girlfriend, but I noticed that you're, when I'm hanging with you, you're showing me all of these women's pictures on Instagram that aren't your girlfriend. Like, what are you doing? What is that?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Those are ways of challenging each other that are like, oh shit, really calling me into integrity.
Mm-hmm. But in a lot of
Not just,
circles, men would see that question as, "Who are you? Are you my friend?" It would be the opposite. It'd be like, "Are you going to be my friend? Are you going to be like just
totally,
join in?"
totally, man. You're right. I mean, it's a culture of
Yeah, very much
of
a culture.
enabling each other's worst in a way.
Mm. And we will feel that, our body's sensations, we feel it, and it's the uncomfortable that we can't hold. It's the truth that we can't hold,
Yeah.
of what it feels like to be questioned or called in to. The truth of the matter is, like, well, these things don't match up. Whereas you're out of alignment here, and this can't be healthy for you,
Yeah.
And then it's that, oh, yeah, you're right.
And I think when we're, to sort of speak psychologically for a moment, when we're living in our adolescent self, we're not so concerned about integrity. I mean, in our adolescent mindset, we're adventuring, we're exploring, like, who am I? We're trying to figure out, well, who am I really in the adolescent stage of our lives. Now, I mean, a lot of men stay in their adolescent stage well into their 40s and 50s and even their 60s. So that we in that stage again, we're experimenting, we're exploring, we're violating boundaries to see, well, what's on the other side. I mean, we're curious, we're adventurous. We need to prove ourselves in some ways over and over. We need to can I be the hero? Can I rescue the princess? Can I slay the dragon? Can I, like, we're constantly testing in the adolescent stage. Healthy adults aren't in that stage anymore. Healthy adults have a sense, okay, this is who I am. This is where my boundaries are. This is where the limits are. This is what I stand for. What I say I want is what I'm going to choose, and I'm going to, and I want to be held accountable. I want to stay in integrity with who I am. And so as healthy adults, mature adults, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way, like, men who don't want this aren't adults, but I mean it in a psychological sense. When we step into true adulthood, we want to surround ourselves with people who won't just enable our childish ways, but who will call forth our greatness, who will call us into integrity with our center, with our authentic nature. That's true adulthood, and that takes a courage
Mm-hmm.
that the adolescent has a different kind of courage. As I said, he's he's reckless in a way. He's experimenting. He's challenging death. He's trying to see what can I get away with before I get killed by the dragon, or who am I? What am I capable of?
Hmm.
But the adult doesn't have to prove themselves that way anymore.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel it's due to not knowing? Really, it's too many opportunities. I don't know where I want to go. I don't know my purpose, and it just results in a very adolescent stage still, because I've not really got clear on what it is I want. And I see this with men that really have a hard time knowing if a girlfriend or a person they're seeing is for them.
Yeah.
And they just don't know. And it's like a real big issue, because like how do you get clearer on that? And you said something in I think it was your 5 Pillars podcast, talking about the year container you've done or doing.
Yeah.
And purpose was like, it's really hard to be present when you don't know your purpose.
Yeah. 100%. I think, and I could relate to this when I was in my, I guess, early 30s. From 30 to like 36, I was in a relationship that I was half in, half out of. I mean, that relationship was the inspiration for my book, Choose Her Every Day or Leave Her. I wasn't choosing this woman every day. I was staying with her, but I wasn't choosing her, not fully. And she felt it. And it was a shit show for both of us for all kinds of reasons, but that was a major reason. She felt me not all in on her. And I think, it's interesting because one of the questions I kept asking is she the right one for me?
Yeah.
Right? I couldn't figure that out. A part of me knew she wasn't, but Chris, you said something, I think you alluded to something very interesting, and I was asking the wrong question. Is she the right one for me? That wasn't even a helpful question. The question that I was really living in, though I didn't know it, was, who am I? Who am I? What do I stand for? Where are my boundaries? That's what I mean. Like the work of, who the hell am I? What do I care about? What do I want? What do I stand for? Rather than getting lost in, is she the right one for me? That's such a mindfuck question. Who can ever answer that with any certainty? Life does all kinds of things. I mean, relationships end all the time. I mean, people die. What a tragedy if you finally find the one you think is the right one for you, and then a year later they're dead. Does that mean there's no other right one for you anymore? Like, what a mindfuck. But rather, when I know who I am, and I didn't know who I was with this woman, that's why she could violate my boundaries and I could violate hers, and there were no real consequences to that other than just chaos. If I knew who I was and she crossed a certain boundary, I wouldn't stay in the relationship if she continued to cross it over and over. It's like, nope, that's not who I am. Right? So it becomes less about, is this the right person for me? And more about, who am I? What matters to me? What's important to me? What are my boundaries? What's my vision for my relationship, for my life? And is this person in alignment with that? Mm-hmm. And if they are, fantastic. And if they're not, then this isn't going to work for either of us.
Yeah. And I would add, where's the wiggle room? I don't like the word compromise, but it's closer to it. Where can I find areas where I'm okay with, and that's what are those? What's that ground to navigate? What are the non-negotiables?
Yeah, that's yeah. Language. I like language. Language matters. I think. I know words can mean different things to different people. Like that word compromise. I saw you back off from that. Like you don't want to compromise, do you, Chris?
Do you know what? I actually like it. It's the pattern from a previous relationship that it wasn't welcome. That word was not okay. So
okay, great, good.
I'm okay with it. It just wasn't okay, and I can see why. But
well, I've learned through working with couples many years, and in my own relationship with my wife, that compromise is it's necessary. It's mandatory. When two people come together, you've got to make compromises. Now, where I kind of draw the line is sacrifice. Mm-hmm. For me, that word sacrifice, and other people would say, nah, you have to make sacrifices to be in relationship. And again, that's where language, we can have different associations with different words. But for me, the line that I draw is sacrifices is eliminating something that really matters to me. That's really important to me. That's like vital to my essence. Doing that for a relationship, for me, that's not a recipe for success.
Mm-hmm.
I've had to make some very challenging compromises to be with my wife. And so has she. But I think if I had to sacrifice, for example, being a writer, I'm a writer. If I had to give that up because my wife was not comfortable with me being a writer for whatever reason, I couldn't be in this relationship.
Yeah.
Right? That's a sacrifice I'm not willing to make.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think everyone has to define that for themselves and figure out where those lines are.
Yeah. Yeah. Just back to what you were saying, it's actually really easy to meet people if you do know yourself and you know what you want. If you know where you're going, you know what you're building.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. Depends what those things are. You could have a really niche vision of something, but
Totally.
yeah, it's really easy. And in the world of the interconnectedness that we have, it's remarkably easy actually. So
Yeah.
with this madness that is, everything is possible to some extent, but everything, just to kind of, that statement, everything is really possible. So do we have to choose the things that we can live without? Like, how do you navigate that with men?
How old are you, Chris? May I ask?
33, 34 this year.
33, 34. Okay. When I was 26, I was just getting out of the Air Force and I felt dead inside. I was 26 years old. I'd just been I went to university, then directly into the military. I'd essentially been wearing a military uniform for 10 years. Five years of training essentially while going to college, and then 5 years of active duty in the Air Force. And I felt dead. I was dead, man, when I got out of the military at 26. And all I could do was grab a backpack and just go travel into the world. See, the military had created so much certainty for my life. Like everything was tracked. Everything was, talk about limitations. I mean, even just the way that I dressed, the way that I cut my hair, I couldn't have a beard. Like there were so many limits on my expression as a human that I was dying, man. I mean, I'm a teenager and then I'm a young man. I got so much fire. I want to go out and experience the world, and I couldn't. So I grabbed a backpack and I just went walkabout. Went over to England for a while, went to Wales, Ireland, had a nervous breakdown in a phone booth in North Wales, and 30 days into my trip. And I needed to experience infinite possibility at that stage. That's why I didn't make any decisions. Like, okay, I'm going to get out of the military and I'm going to go work for this company, or I'm going to go pursue this degree. It's like, nope, I need wide open possibility. Mm-hmm. I was dying for it. And I think it's an essential, I know y'all in Europe, especially, you have the gap year, right? Mm-hmm. That's part of your cultural practice. Kids graduate from, I guess we call it high school, but you graduate before going to university. It's very common, historically anyway. I don't know how that practice still goes, but to have a gap year where you just, you go do something adventurous, and you're exploring possibility, right? Mm-hmm. Is that, am I right about that?
I went to prison in my gap year.
What's that?
I went to prison in my gap year.
You went to prison in your gap year. Well, what an adventure.
That was everything, about the military resonated. Yeah, go on. What were you going to say?
So, I needed to go I needed to wander. I needed to wander into the field of infinite possibility.
Mm-hmm.
I remember telling my mom on like the eve before I left. So I'm 26. I'm out of the military now. I'm getting ready to get on my last military transport flight was from Andrews Air Force Base in just outside of Washington D.C. over to I can't remember which Royal Air Force Base in England. Might have been Lakenheath. I don't remember exactly, but I remember
Sandhurst.
telling. What's that?
Sandhurst. Is one at Sandhurst?
It could have been. I really don't remember. I think my friend. I was going to visit a friend who was flying F-15s near Cambridge, a base near Cambridge somewhere. But anyway, I remember telling my mom, I'm 26, and I told my mom, I said, Mom, I just need you to know I may never come home.
Wow.
I kind of laugh at that now because it was like, how ridiculous is that? I mean, come on, man, you're never going to come home. But my adolescent brain needed to believe that anything is possible. I needed it. Psychologically, I was starving for infinite possibility. Why? Because, Chris, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I am, and I needed to figure out who am I, not just in relationship to my dad or to, my local community, like, oh, I'm a candlestick maker, or I'm a librarian, or I'm a doctor. No. Who am I in relationship to fucking life, to the cosmos? Mm-hmm. And that's, again, a very adolescent psychological need. We need that open space to explore, to find out, who am I really? And that's the journey that I went on. Now, I had no elder guidance. I had no cultural guidance. What I was doing was weird, which is why 30 days later I fell flat on my face and was sobbing in tears in a phone booth in North Wales, because not only do I still not know who I am, I can't go back to who I was because that was shitty, but I don't know where to go. Holy shit. What a crisis moment that was.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it would take me years, man. It would take me years to wander that path of uncertainty and experimentation and exploring who am I. But the thing is, there comes a moment in life where we answer a lot of these questions, again, not with conclusions. It's not like I know who I am in a way that I could articulate to you. And you ask me that question, who are you? I'll answer it in 1,000 different ways. Mm-hmm. Depending on my mood, or depending on the moment, or what book I just read, or, what movie I just saw. I don't know. But there's a deep sense of knowing, what am I committed to? What matters to me? Yeah. Who am I in terms of my boundaries, my values, what I care about, what I stand for? And inside of that, there are choices to be made. Mm-hmm. I'm very clear that I want to be in an intimate relationship with one woman. I don't want to do polyamory. I don't want to just be a single bachelor forever. I want to build something really beautiful with one woman. I'm clear about that. That clarity informs my choices. Mm-hmm. So I do make, in this world of infinite possibilities, I've collapsed all of those possibilities into one choice.
Mm-hmm. It also saves people a lot of time when they meet you to know, okay, whether they want to be around you or not. You're doing it for them as much as you. So it also saves people time by being very honest and clear and just decisive about all the things that you want. It's like the people come and go, but then at least you're giving them the permission to take or leave you, right?
100%, man. Look, I'm surrounded by beautiful men and like heart connected, thoughtful men. Again, we don't all think the same. But like, I'm surrounded by men who celebrate me, who support my choices because they're in alignment with their choices in a sense, and not that we're making all the same choices, but we know we're all seeking to serve our community rather than just serve our own egos and our own, self-inflation.
Mm.
And that's a beautiful thing. And, you know, oh my God, yeah, you nailed it. I mean, it's having crossed that threshold of needing infinite possibilities to be real, to collapsing all those possibilities into some key choices. Yeah, it reflects in the life that I get to live.
Mm-hmm. So community, and you touched on elders before. I know that's something that you've sought. Have you really landed in a place where your elders are, and they really have repaired somewhat of this the father wound?
You know, I I have three dads. I have a father, a stepfather, and a father-in-law. I love each of those men, but I don't look to any of them for wisdom. They're good men,
Yeah.
and they have, insights and wisdom to share in certain domains. My stepfather, something goes wrong with my house, he's the guy to call. He's definitely the guy to call. But if I'm heartbroken because I'm carrying something heavy because of a relationship challenge or something, he's not the guy to call. I don't trust the wisdom that he would have to offer. And same with my dad, same with my father-in-law. Again, they're all good men,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't experience them as wise elders. They're older men who
Yeah.
have some insight and experience.
Just on that, how do you navigate that ground? How do you do they ever? There must be some times where they're inquisitive or curious or just making small talk, and you kind of have to know that you don't want to go any further.
Yeah.
There'll be some subconscious or conscious understanding that you don't actually have that much depth to the relationship.
Yeah.
Do you have real clear, like, no, it's okay, I'm good? I always find myself saying I'm okay because I don't want to go there,
Right. Yeah. I work with a therapist who is an older man. He's in his 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And he is a trustable elder to me.
Mm-hmm.
I see him every few weeks. He's a man that I know I can talk to anything about because he can hold it. He can offer, feedback without telling me what to do. Presuming he knows what's best. He can he's trustable to me. And that's a relationship I cherish. I can go to him and talk with him about the heaviest things that I'm carrying, and man, he'll show up. And I'm paying him, but so fucking what? Like, why shouldn't I be, man? It's a service he's doing. He's not my actual dad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with that. I mean, it's an energy exchange.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. I'll have conversations like with my dad, and I have to draw boundaries. I have to draw boundaries. I'm just trying to decide whether to share this one thing about my father recently, and
share it.
My father is not. I'll share. He's not a drinker. He's not an alcoholic by any means, but he's 78 years old, and our relationship has definitely been strained, especially over the last 20 years, and I've had to learn to stop expecting the things that a son expects from a father. In the language of my therapist, I'd stop sonning my father. Stop sonning my father, meaning stop playing the role of son to my father, because he's a good man, but he's not going to offer the things that the son archetype in me is dying for from a father. It's not going to happen. And that's been a big transition for me, a big transformation for me internally, to see him not as a father so much, but as a peer, a male peer. And one of the things that I think I called him on his birthday a few weeks ago, and he was drinking, and he was in such a good mood. He's a happy drunk, which is great. fantastic, because usually he's very serious. He means well, but he can be very condescending. He can be very, he always wants to be the teacher. He's the one that knows everything. I think this is partly also why I'm so committed to look, I have my opinions and my perspectives and my ideas, but look, I always reserve the right to be wrong. Mm-hmm. I have to, because if I don't, I become my father. I become one of the things I like least about my father. Mm-hmm. Right? He's never wrong. He's always the teacher. I don't want to be that guy. Mm-hmm. Right? And so anyway, he's drinking. We actually had an amazing conversation. It was so much fun. It was one of the best conversations I had with him. He was laughing. He was taking shots while we're talking, and it was just a fun, enjoyable conversation. And I shared this with my therapist, and my therapist suggested, well, one of the things you might consider is only talking to your dad when he's drinking. Oh, interesting. Because when I talk to him and he's not drinking, it tends to not be a very enjoyable conversation. It tends to be, I get the parts of him that leave me feeling unseen, even in a way a little disrespected at times. Mm-hmm. But when he's drinking, I don't have that experience. And so I know it's like a little counter what most people would think. Like, if your parents drunk, you shouldn't talk to them because they're gonna be something we don't want them to be. We want people sober. But you talk about limits and boundaries. Now, I don't think I'm actually going to do that. But if I talk with him and my dad starts coming at me in a certain way that doesn't feel good to me, that feels a little bit violating. The limits are, Dad, I'm not going to have this conversation with you right now. In fact, why don't you go take a shot? Go get a shot of whiskey and then call me back in 10 minutes and then we'll start talking. To be more playful and more, but to let him know, we're not going down this path. I'm not doing this with you.
Yeah.
Right. And I know not to go to him for certain things like comfort, if I'm hurting. Mm-hmm. Is that helpful? Does that
absolutely. Loads of stuff's coming up. I think the initial reaction would be that you're like enabling or like promoting this alcohol, but it's actually you're really trying to shine a light on the fact that he knows he's only happy when he's drunk, or he knows he's a certain way when he's drunk.
Right.
So you're shining a light on that for him to reflect and be like, well, that's shocking, as if you're not gonna engage until I have a shot. So then hopefully that's a big enough kind of shock to the system. Be like, oh, why is that? Oh, yeah, that's why.
Right. I must be a dick when I'm sober. I mean, maybe he has that realization. Maybe he doesn't. But
you have to.
I'm not trying to drive my dad into alcoholism, but he's also 78, man. Let the guy have some fun. He's lived such a serious life, and he hasn't had a drinking problem his whole life. And, so it's part of it is also me not taking the relationship so serious.
I think from my own experience and what I was saying before about, I'm okay to go there with some people. Like, a lot of people have really beautiful friendships where they can hold space for me, and I can really just bring everything, and I'm okay with that. They're okay with that. But then with family relationships, I have to be like, no, I'm okay, and it's not the truth. Yeah. Just so I don't have to fail at sunning.
Yeah. Well, one of my teachers, Byron Katie, you familiar with her?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love her work. One of the things that I heard her say years ago that really landed with me, because the first book I wrote is called, you can see it over my shoulder here. It's called "Tell the Truth, Let the Peace Fall Where It May." And I value honesty. I value truth telling. And one of the things one of the things that she said that really stuck with me is, she's committed to the truth. I'm committed to the truth. And if you're not, or if my truth isn't what you really are able to hold or hear from me, then I'm okay to be in silence with you too. That's okay too. Mm-hmm. I'm willing for it. That willingness to not have to say everything. When I know I'm talking to certain people in my family and I just know I'm going to share this and they're not going to be able to hold it. Well, why the fuck would I share it then? Right? Or I believe they're going to come at me in a way that feels judgy, or they're just going to try to fix my problems rather than just be with me in the problem. I'm just not going to bring it to them because this isn't going to go well for either of us, because I'm not going to do the thing they want me to do, right? Which is going to piss them off. And I'm not going to feel seen and heard in the way that in the advice that they're going to give me, which is going to piss me off. So I'll save us both the trouble and just, I just won't talk about it. I have other places to go for that. And it sounds like you do too, Chris. And I think that's essential. We have to have those places to go, and we have to know to not go to the places where we won't get the support that we know we need.
Yeah.
I think that's a mark of wisdom, not like we're doing it wrong. I think that's wise.
It is wise, and I have that because I made it my number one priority over money, over my own, I guess, work. It was like, all right, I need to create. Wow, I was seeking it for a long time, and then I created it, like the community. Yeah. And then as soon as I started to create, you live more from that place, and then you just attract.
100%.
As I know, you know.
I think it's even kind to not go to certain people for something we know that they can't offer. Mm-hmm. It's kind. Why would I go to someone in my family for comfort when I know they're not comforting? Because I'm just going to make them feel frustrated because I'm going to go to them for comfort, to share something, and then they're going to feel frustrated because they're going to give what they're going to give back I'm not going to want. And that's just going to cause them frustration. Like it feels even to me kind to not go to people who can't give me what it is that I need in that moment, which is maybe just listening, non-judgment, whatever. So, yeah.
Do you notice that it's a big teacher to check in with and see where elements of yourself that you're not free yet? If you can leave that environment and be, okay, didn't get what I need, that's okay. I can spend some time with that. Yeah. I can move away from that quick. Yeah. Is it go on? Yeah, I feel like something's.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking of that. Was it Ram Dass that said? I think it was him that said, you think you're enlightened? Go spend time with your family.
Yeah,
man, couldn't be more true in that, because we can, especially those of us that are seekers, we're the black sheep of the family, we're the wanderers, we're the ones that go and kind of leave the family system. We don't take up the family business, whatever that is, and we go find our own way. And maybe some of us change our names. We wear weird clothing, or I don't know, we drink ayahuasca. God only knows what we get up to. We become life coaches. I don't know. And, then we come back to the family and they're like, what is this bullshit garb you're wearing? That's not who you are. Life coach, what is that? Or why are you wearing those weird clothes? Or, your name isn't Ananda. It's fucking Jake. You know what I mean? And wow, can you be with your family's rejection of the new identity that you think you are, which even that you're not. You're not fucking Ananda any more than you are Jake. You're in the simplest framing of it, you're just a bag of flesh containing all kinds of body parts and things that are somehow magically functioning as something that can, every name is made up. So, everything I think can be useful, in the exploration, the inquiry of, how free am I really? Even being in fucking relationship, choosing to commit to a relationship, not commit, but to devote yourself to relationship. A lot of men get caught up in this trip of, relationship is going to take away my freedom. Well, you know what? Yeah, it fucking is going to take away aspects of your freedom, of your superficial external freedom, but the ultimate freedom is to be found in 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 fully opening to the limitations you have chosen for yourself. That's the ultimate freedom. Knowing that I am choosing this experience, even though there are compromises, there are freedoms I am maybe even sacrificing. There may be a man who recognizes that parts of him wants to just fuck lots of women, but the relationship, the woman he's choosing, she won't stand for it. It doesn't work for her. Okay, wow. Can he fully choose that and embrace, the man that can fully embrace the limitations he's choosing for himself? That, I say, is true freedom. That's true freedom. Because he also then knows, she's not making me choose this. Society isn't making me choose this. Nobody's making me choose this. I'm choosing this. And everything that comes with it. Which also means that I could choose something else if I want to. And I notice I'm not choosing something else. I'm choosing this. Whew, okay, let's play the game. Every game has limits. Every game, try to play basketball with no boundaries. Just a wide open field. You'll never get the ball in the hoop because the ball will just constantly be somewhere else. No one would score any points. It'd be you wouldn't even have a hoop. We wouldn't even know what the fuck we're playing here.
Yeah.
You have boundaries. You want to play basketball? There are boundaries you put around the court. There are rules to how you dribble the ball. It's the same with relationships. It's the same with anything. It's the same with being an entrepreneur. It's the same with making money. It's the same with, you live you're doing the van life right now. Well, talk about limits. A van you got pretty tiny limits in terms of your living space. Now you can drive lots of places.
Yeah.
But you in van life, you don't get to have a separate room for your office, a separate room for a bedroom, a living room. Maybe you could fit it. You could probably fit a drum set in there. I'm guessing.
I have a drum.
Yeah, but you have a drum, like a hand drum or something. Yeah. Okay, cool. I got a drum set.
Yeah.
I can play my drum set without driving my wife crazy while she's watching a movie.
Yeah.
Right? So you have certain freedoms I don't have. I can't move my house to another part of the country. I can't go to the seashore with my house one day like you can. But I can play my drums without driving my wife crazy, which you can't. If she wants to be in the van watching something, you're going to drive her nuts, or, and on and on and on. Like any choice we make has limits.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's true. There's a lot of restrictions, and I thought I'd save you a lot of money and time, and I don't think those things are true. I'm right. Like, it's just different. It's just a different way of approaching everything. It's such a reframe. But God, I urge anyone to be curious about just a different way of living, whether it's a tiny home, whether it's backpacking, whether it's, just go and explore and just scratch that itch,
Yeah.
Because you won't know, you just don't know what things are like and why we live in the way we do. Like, everyone's quite upset about just things and too much stuff and like just the craziness that is the modern day, but it is that way for a bit of a reason as well. Like, we have things on a button for a reason, because without the button it's quite complicated to go wash your clothes. Like, good God, like I spent 2 hours yesterday just at the laundrette. It's like
2 hours where?
Just at the washing my clothes, and then they didn't dry properly. So I'm like, what do I do now?
Right. I'm 48, and I'd asked you earlier your age, and I was just curious. Like, I'm a student of the developmental stages that humans go through from birth to death, and I'm 48. I own a house now. I've never owned a house until this year. About 6 months ago, I bought a house with my wife. First house I've ever owned. And I bought a leaf blower, Chris. You know what a leaf blower is, right?
You've mentioned a leaf blower getting up to meditate because there are no leaf blowers at 6 a.m.
Okay.
You mentioned that in the podcast. Well,
I bought my own damn leaf blower. And you know what? I was so happy to get a leaf blower. Like
Yeah.
at 33, last thing I wanted was a leaf blower.
Yeah.
Because all a leaf blower would have signified to me at 33 is chains, is bondage, is drudgery, is I'm being chained to something I don't want any part of, because I need adventure. I need exploration. I need possibility. I can't be weighed down by, you know, a fucking leaf blower or a lawnmower or, I don't know, laundry machines that I own. Are you kidding me? That's the last thing I wanted at 33. At 48, I'm married. Again, I know who I am in the ways that are important to me. I know what I'm up to. You know, this bookshelf that you see behind me, I couldn't have that in a house that I didn't own before.
Mm-hmm.
When I was constantly moving homes, constantly adventuring, or it'd be often a different background. I used to actually do my work with a white screen behind me, because that I could do anywhere. I could just, you know, at my mom's house in Maryland, I mean, wherever. A white screen, you know, those sort of folding Chinese divider things that are really lightweight. Oh man, I can take that almost anywhere. But I'm up to a different game now. You know, I'm grounding in place. I'm building a nest. I'm building a life with my wife. I'm building my business. I'm, you know, promoting my book and my work, and I'm showing up to serve men in all of these ways that are enjoyable and meaningful to me. And I have a house that needs to be taken care of. I need a leaf blower. I got $1,000 worth of damage to my gutters in the recent ice storm that we had. Man, I have fucking gutters I have to care about, and I love it. I love having gutters around my house that I have to care about. But at 33, that was my nightmare.
Mm.
Right? So, you know, it's like, what game are we up to right now? Is it the game of figuring out who I am?
Absolutely.
Is it the game of building a life with a woman or a man? Is it the game of building a business? You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and embracing where you're at as well. Like you're embracing that leaf blower. You're embracing it, and it's just to do that as well, not to resent where you're not at or where you see yourself one day, for sure.
Yeah, when I often reflect on when I was in my 30s, because I knew I wanted to be in a relationship, you know, but I wasn't in one, and I would often reflect as like, man, God willing, you know, if I live long enough, I'm gonna just blink my eyes, and then one day there's gonna be a woman right in front of me. Holy shit! And then there's gonna be a dog. Like that was part of my vision. I knew I wanted a good woman, and a good dog, and good work. And even when I didn't have those things, it was like, I believe my vision told me that is for me. But I had to adventure. I had to be in, again, that infinite possibility field to find the woman, the dog, and the work that are genuinely, authentically for the you know, the real me. Not the me that society wants. The guy that, I don't know, makes lots of money selling insurance or bonds or whatever. Nothing wrong with those things. But that's not me. That's not the real me. And I could have done those things after the military, just taken a job with a defense contractor, make more money, get a girlfriend and then a wife, and then have some kids and have a dog. But from a place where I'm not really connected to my soul's calling. Mm-hmm. Oh man, I'm fucking miserable. Even if I have a good woman, I can't really enjoy her because I don't feel connected to my own life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think, you know, Chris, you're doing the right thing, man. Doing van life at 33, exploring, adventuring, having real conversations with people, experimenting, seeing what fits, what doesn't. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to do this before you get a house and you get a leaf blower and you get the things that ground you. Do what you're doing now so that when you get a leaf blower, you can be excited about having a leaf blower and not resentful because it weighs you down.
100%. what about children? Do they fit into the picture? How do you see yourself as a dad?
Definitely, definitely, definitely. Life is making that journey a bit challenging for us, but my wife and I are, we've been together 7 years, and we're definitely ready for to step into
Mm-hmm.
that experience. But it's that's been a challenging road for us, but we're on it, doing our part.
Good
Yeah,
stuff,
thanks
man.
for asking.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, man. Let's leave. I respect your time, so let's leave it on your book. I mean, just how much of an impact that's having.
Yeah,
I've not delved into it yet. I want to save it until the conversation, and
great.
potentially get you back on, and we'll dive in different areas. But yeah, how's that been? How's that been going? That's like giving birth, right? That's a baby that's now on its own journey.
Definitely, definitely. Yep. Choose Her Every Day or Leave Her. Yep. That book. Yeah, it's going well. I mean, as an independent author, I've sold probably about 8,000 copies, which is really good for an independent author. It's now an audiobook as well, and that's really exciting. That only came out a couple months ago. Um, I'm really I'm excited about this book. It is that's the capstone of my work as a man in the field of intimate relationships. And the thing about that I'm really proud of this book is that I think it's challenging to men. Look at the title: Choose Her Every Day or Leave Her. It doesn't say choose her every day no matter what and stay with her no matter how bad it gets. No, no, no. Like, fucking choose her. And if you can't, then leave her. Right? It's like, be in integrity with your choices.
Mm-hmm.
And we men need the challenge. It's confronting, like my Men This
You
Way
love a
was confronting
confronting
to you at
title.
first. I can't tell you how many times, man, I've had men write to me and say, at first I hated you. At first I thought you were full of shit and your work was just bullshit. And then I dove in. I mean, literally, one guy said this. He was like, he said, after I got into your work, he said, now all I want to do is give you a big hug.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it, man, because my work is confronting, but I certainly hope it's never disrespectful to men. It's confronting. It calls us into integrity. It calls us to be in our true manhood, in our adulthood. I'm not telling men what they should or shouldn't do. I'm not saying every man needs to choose a woman and stand by her no matter what. And I'm not saying that. I'm just saying be in integrity with your choices. And if you're not, own that and then and make it right. And I think this book is also very validating for women. And I think women are in a lot of pain in the domain of relationships. And women can engage in pretty awful behavior as well. I mean, in many ways, women are no more skillful at relationships than we are. But I get, there's this trope, this idea that, we men will say a lot, women are crazy. You ever heard a guy say that? Maybe you've said it.
Yeah.
I've certainly said it. Well, one of the things that I figured out through this work is, well, for the most part, women are only crazy because men are clueless. Our cluelessness makes women crazy. But when we start getting a clue, our women can start to relax. They can start to trust us in more deep ways. When she can trust us, and not trust that we're going to do what she wants us to do, but trust that who I say I am is indeed who I am. Where my boundaries are, those really are my boundaries. Where I say my commitments are, those are my commitments. Right? When I know myself and when I'm in integrity with myself, then our women can relax and they get a lot less fucking crazy, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
When they can trust that we know who we are.
Yeah, beautifully said, man. And I think
Thank you, man.
The games that we play.
Yeah.
I felt myself like edging towards that, or like the sarcasm, or the bravado, let's say. It's not being direct when we communicate. whether it's dating or the lead up to seeing someone or whatever. It's us as men, we
Yeah.
really toy with that. We toy with that directness to try and
Yeah.
gain more attraction. You know, the one of the biggest statements is like, treat a mean, keep a keen. It was like, I grew up with that. That was one of the things thrown
Oh
around the
my
house.
God.
Have you heard that?
Wow, I've never heard that, but I get it immediately.
Well, I guess elusiveness is somewhat alluring. You kind of want to. It keeps you. Yeah, I mean, there's truth to it, but it's not nice. It's not nice.
Well, it plays to her wound. It plays to her wounding. It takes advantage of her daddy separation, her emotionally unavailable father, or her. It plays to her wound, which doesn't make for healthy relationships.
Yeah, man. Ah, beautiful, man. And this is going to be a lovely conversation with you. Thank you for sharing all your personal stuff, and it's just, yeah, you really show up in my eyes, and
Thanks, man. Thank you.
I hope I trust you will continue to do what you're doing, and whatever way that is, it's just remaining on that
Thank you, Chris.
in that direction. Yeah.
Well, that means a lot to me, man, coming from another man, especially. So I fully receive that, and I've really enjoyed this. You ask great questions. You hold a great space for a good conversational flow. So thank you for this. And yeah, man, when you dive into the book, Choose Her Every Day or Leave Her, and as that brings up stuff, we'll do this again. Talk about that.
Yeah, that'd be lovely, man. Yeah.
I'd love to see what pisses you off about the book.
Turn the page over. It's like another every chapter.
I love it. Welcome it.
Yeah, I do, man. I do, and it's reframing things is one of the biggest things we can do. Like, what does this say about myself?
Yeah.
How can I use it as fuel? To be better, to grow, to understand myself more. That's good, man. Sharpening ourselves together. Right. Yeah, beautiful, man. Anything you want to leave it on? What makes you mad? What makes you sad?
Yeah. You want to play that game? Sure. I haven't done that.
Have you not? Okay, yeah. So
once you ask me,
for those listening, watching on Bryan's show, at the end he always asks these questions. So, what makes you mad?
What makes me mad? Oh man. What makes me mad? People talking in the movie theater. Drivers not making space when you're trying to get over, like, just lack of consideration, lack of awareness of your impact on other people around you. That pisses me off. That makes me mad.
Yeah. What makes you sad?
Oh man, what makes me sad? My relationship with my dads. I got 3 older men in my life, and it does make me sad that I don't. I don't have the real relationship I want with any of them, and that I get along with them all, but I don't. I feel a deep sadness that those relationships aren't what I wish they were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I live with that sadness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've done some really powerful episodes with, I can't remember his name, that all about grief and holding.
Oh, Francis Weller.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Creating space for that grief and just as a ritual, as a practice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, man. What are the others? Is it what brings you joy?
Joy.
Cry.
Yeah. What brings you joy? What causes me joy? Causes me joy. I really enjoy my life these days. And so I think I have a kind of a low grade constant experience of just like again, even just blowing leaves off my lawn, off my driveway with my leaf blower. There's something about that just is joyful for me. It's so weird, Chris. I don't get it at all. I mean, I get it, but also I don't get it. Who the fuck am I? But that causes me joy, man. Just, I'm grateful for my life.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. I love that all these answers really bringing you down to like the grounding. They're like human answers, rooted in our humanness. But like, I've listened to a lot of you, and there's like, please forget this podcast. Just dive into Bryan's stuff, because there's such a breadth to even like your spirituality and how that's ever evolving, and your connection to the whole, and how you speak to that is just incredible. So yeah, there's so much more going on in your world. The leaf blowing, but equally,
we got two more.
Yeah, we got two more. What are they?
Fear, what causes me to feel afraid.
Sure.
Honestly, man, the thing that makes me feel the most fear is like I will fail at what I came here to do in this life, which is such a weird thing to fear, because how would I even know? But that's a weird sort of existential fear, like I'll just somehow fail at my mission, which I don't believe is even possible, but also I still fear it. So,
hey, if you don't end up contradicting yourself in the end, you're not really living life.
You're full of shit. If you're not full of contradictions, then you're full of shit. I agree. I like that. Yeah. And then the last one, you remember the last one?
I do not.
Shame. What causes you to feel shame, embarrassment, or just makes you want to hide from the world?
Okay.
And again, yeah, these are the questions that I ask my guests. I have been lately asking my guests at the end of my podcast, Men This Way. So thank you for asking these of me. It's fun. I've never gotten to answer them yet. Shame, embarrassment, or makes me want to just hide away from the world. Shame.
Yeah, you have a great piece on shame that you talked about on one of your podcasts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that, but I think what immediately comes to my mind around shame is, I think when I'm unskillful, particularly with my wife or friends, people that are close to me, when I say something unskillful, maybe it's disrespectful, or it's unkind or harsh, I feel a lot of shame around when that happens. And it happens often enough, man. I'm prone to it just like anybody. So, yeah, I feel shame when I do that.
And where is that in your body? Like, where do you feel the shame?
I feel it in my throat, in my belly, in my face. My face will tighten because I don't want to feel it. My throat, because I feel like it's like I attach it to expression, like, oh, I got to so my body tends to constrict around shame.
Or even that's not even what I wanted to say. Like that comes up for me. It's like I wasn't very skillful in that approach, and I know it, and I don't even know how to correct it, and it's like it's just coming out of me in the wrong way. Yeah, I have that skillful communication's coming up lately. I think that's
good.
Don't know what that means, but it's coming up a lot in a few conversations. Yeah. Okay, man. Anything you want to leave it on?
Just I guess I've got two books. Choose Her Every Day or Leave Her is one of them, and the other book, if you're man or woman or otherwise trying to figure out, how do I speak what's true for me in ways that are direct and simple and kind and honoring. I have another book called Tell the Truth, Let the Peace, Peace, Let the Peace Fall Where It May. They're both on Amazon. I have the audiobook on Audible, and anywhere you get your books or audiobooks. But those are great places to dive in to get started. And my podcast, Men This Way, and Chris, thank you for being so generous and how you describe it and sharing your experience. It really means a lot to me, man, to hear directly from you that it touches you and that it inspires you, and even though you hated it at first. And yeah, those are great places. And my website, Bryan Reeves, Bryan with a Y, that matters, Reeves.com. And I've really enjoyed this, Chris.
Good, man. Your middle name's like Withrow or something?
Withrow, yeah.
Because I double take that. I was like, Bryan with a what? Withrow? I thought it was like
Withrow
with a Y. I thought that was your middle name. I thought you changed your middle name to with a Y.
Oh, that's interesting that you would think that. Yeah, no. I didn't used to use Withrow. That's my grandmother's maiden name. And I was kind of embarrassed about it as a kid. Withrow, it's like a weird name. But actually, as an author, I think it makes for a beautiful name. Bryan Withrow Reeves. It brings a, I don't know,
Does, man.
like some kind of elegance to it that I really like. So I started going with that. But that has nothing to do with a Y. I just want people to know that I spell my first name with a
Yeah,
Y.
good, man. Yeah. Well, I always ask actually what people are most excited about right now. Like, what's alive for you? What are you? What's the excitement?
Man, I'm excited about.
Don't say the leaf blower.
It's not the leaf blower. I'm not excited about that at this moment. I want people to get my book, Choose Her Every Day or Leave Her. I want men and women to dive into. I'm really excited to bring people into that conversation. That is really my excitement, to help men thrive in relationship. So many men are struggling and suffering in relationships, and women too. So my excitement is helping people really find their way in relationships. I mean, it's, my relationship with my wife is fundamentally changed my life in ways that I wanted my life to change. And um, I I believe we all deserve to thrive in relationship if we choose that.
Hmm.
And so that's really my excitement. Yeah, that's what I'm really excited about these days. That's this year. The theme of this year is get people into that book. Work with me in the domain of relationships, and let's all rise. Let's all walk this way together.
Yeah, lovely, man. Do you know what? That's provoked an idea that I've got a retreat coming up in April. I'm gonna buy 5 at the moment, but 8 copies hopefully, and I'm gonna give it to everyone who comes. There you go.
Oh, thanks, man.
As
Wonderful.
a
Thank you for that.
contribution to my gratitude to you, and I haven't read it ever. Yeah, maybe I'll save it till I read it. But yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
that's good,
I
man.
appreciate that.
No, I appreciate you, man. I think it's unique, and you've got a great eye for guests as well. I'm working my way through your guests, and I really there's some people that I never knew about, and yeah, I think you've got
Mm,
you're not in a rush
cool.
to keep churning it out, also, and I think that says a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely had to go at a pace for my podcast that works for me, and doing it weekly, just churning them out. Man, that was killing me. I,
Mm.
I, I didn't want to live like that. And so I got a good flow now that feels really good to me. And I want to make a quality podcast. Podcasting is a lot of work.
I have to live in a
And
van to podcast. That's how much of a
yeah, yeah, I can't imagine that. It's a lot of work, and I want to create a quality experience for listeners. And what's the rush, man? Where are we going? Where are we going, Chris? We're only always right here, so let's enjoy it.
Nice, man. Beautiful way to end. All right. Appreciate you.
All right, brother. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciated this.